Okay, so here's my story. B16. Have family down in Alabama. Family own a large amount of land in Huntsville. Uncle owns a big house and a bunch of trailers that they put out in the woods for hunting or camping. Down south cousins suggest that we go on a trip. I know I'm a kid from the city, from Chicago, but they tease the hell out of me for it. Collect food, kill a pig, some chickens, bring necessities to camp out for a few days. They go to the camp. It's obvious something is weird. There is this weird electric smell, like right before a storm, like ozone. We think nothing of it and unpack, go down a little creek to swim for a few hours. All of a sudden, some older white guy and a white teenager come out of the bushes. He has a shotgun in the crook of his arm, says hello, asks us what we're doing this far back in the woods. Tell him about my uncle, who he knows, and says we're camping out. He tells us we need to be real careful out here and stick together, and there's a big animal in the woods. His son, who's my age, asks if he can stay and hang out with us. Say okay. Okay, I'm going to stop with the green text thing because the story's fairly long and the format's harder to write in. So, we end up playing football, dicking around with me. There's this one white kid named Tanner. It's 5 of my cousins and 4 of their friends. In total, there are 5 girls, 6 boys. We're all around 15 or 16. We end up just dicking the whole day away. So, we head back to the camp, pulling out some stuff for a campfire, even though the trailers both have kitchenettes. Tanner says that his family's property sits up against my uncle's. They want to run home and ask his dad if he can come out and camp with us. My cousin Rooster says that he's going to go with them since it's going to get dark soon. One of the girls also wants to tag along. It's around 7 o'clock. And it's starting to get pretty dark. Now, they have flashlights to take the trail down Tan's property. The rest of us chill. We have smokes, drinks, kiss on the girls. About 30 or 40 minutes later, there's a smell of ozone again. They could smell it over the smell of the fire that we had started. It's real nasty. It's coppery smell. It's like right after you have a nosebleed. And it stops. It wasn't exactly like dried blood, but it was like that nasty metallic, that back of your throat smell. We immediately think that it's some kind of electrical malfunction and someone left a hot plate on or something. So we search, nothing's on. We can all smell it. All of a sudden, we hear people booking it down the path towards us, and Rooster, Tan, and the girl all come running out into the clearing out of breath. They don't even break stride. They all run into the trailer right by where the fire is. Then we'll get the hell out of there and into the trailers. They all end up calming down. Even Rooster's crying his eyes out at this point. All the while, fire is guttering lower and lower. So my other cousins say, screw it. And they're about to go outside and get the generator out of the shed between the trailers. Tanner goes, no, lock the front door. Ain't nobody else going outside. He's been crying too. His eyes are bloodshot and puffy. His pants are all dirty. So he goes to tell us that they went up to the house. His father said sure, he could go out camping, but to make sure they were careful on the way back. Then maybe they should take one of the hunting rifles just in case. Evidently, Tanner had seen something in the yard a few days ago. One of their pigs had come up ripped up and half-eaten. They assumed it was just some big cat or coyote, even though they don't usually mess with living animals. He had gone upstairs, packed his stuff, told his dad that they would be okay without the rifle because coyotes avoid people, so they started walking back towards where we were camping at. So Rooster finally stops crying and shaking. Girl already had, but she was just like staring out the window with this dumb look on her face. He says they got halfway into the woods towards the camp when they started to hear something in the forest. It was almost pitch black by this time, so they weren't sure at first what the hell it was. Girl says that she heard something in the bushes right off the trail. They all beam their flashlights over there, and there's someone, standing back in the woods in a little hollow. So Rooster said they shouted at him, told him that he was scaring the hell out of them, and what a dick he was. He says that's when he realized that the guy was facing away from them. So they kept walking. They start smelling that nasty, coppery ozone smell. They say that they look off into the forest on the opposite side, and it's a dude standing in the forest, backwards, slightly closer to the path. So now they start power walking, and Tan keeps going. He said, I should have taken the rifle, right? So as they're telling the story, the smell is still super strong, even inside the cabin. Well, they say that after they started walking faster, a kind of low gibbering had started coming from both sides of the wood. And as they started booking it back toward the trailer, the girl said she had flashed her flashlight out into the woods to the side of them. and she'd seen something jerking itself through the woods. The gibbering just gets louder and louder, and when they could see the light from our campfire, something had come out of the woods about 40 yards behind them and onto the track, and they had just flat out ran as hard as they could to the trailer. So we're out in the woods. We're assuming at this point it's some rednecks or something trying to mess with us. All of a sudden, my other cousin, Junior, starts going on about how he went to school with a native kid that was telling him about the Goatman or something, right? And we probably told him to shut the hell up because we didn't need to hear any spooky talk right now. But he just keeps going on and on about how it's the Goatman and how we're in his woods and blah, blah, blah. And now at the time, I had never heard of this Goatman or any of that. But then, a couple of years ago, a year before I graduated from college, I met him for a roommate, and I ended up asking him about it. And to sum it up, it's basically like a man with a head of a goat, and he can shapeshift, and he gets among groups of people to terrorize them. It's also supposed to be like, kind of like the Wendigo, and it's bad mojo to even talk about it. Even worse if you see it. So keep in mind, I don't know this back then when I was 16. So my cousin's going, Goatman's gonna get in, he's gonna get us. The girls are all terrified. My cousins and I, we're all just trying to figure out if it's just some hillbillies or if it's some animal. So all of a sudden, the smell just goes away. Like to this day, I haven't even experienced anything like it. Like usually smells fade away or they lessen. It was just literally, it was there 1 second, then not the next. So it was after an hour, making it around 9 or 10. We stopped, freaking out enough to go back outside and soak the fires again. We figured it's just some asshole trying to mess with us, so we don't go back home because we think if we do, they'll chase us through the woods or something crazy, so nothing else weird happens that night. We stay another night, and for the main part of the night, nothing happens. So at about 1 a.m, we're outside, we're getting drunk, we're telling ghost stories. And someone is finishing some too spooky story, I don't remember what about. The smell comes back. And it is so strong. It was one of the girls literally starts vomiting. I stand up. You can actually feel how clammy the air is. I say we should get inside. This isn't right. We should have just left, right? So we all go back inside. We're standing around. My cousin just keeps going on about how it's the Goatman. My cousin Rooster tries to tell him to shut up. And all the while, I'm just feeling like something is wrong, and I can't figure out what the hell it is. So we end up sitting in there for a while. The smell is just as strong. We're terrified. We're huddled in this camper. We end up cooking brats for everybody because nobody wants to go outside. It's one of those packs of like 4 brats, right? So we have a total of 3 packs. I grill them up on the stove. I give everybody a hot dog. I get mine. After a while, one of my cousins gets up, goes over to the pot to get another one. Starts grumbling about how I got 2 brats, everybody else got 1. I look at him like he's stupid. I tell him that everybody got 1 because there were only 12 brats. If he wanted more, he should have opened up a new pack and cooked some more. And that's when one of the girls that had been out with Rooster and Tan just starts screaming like, oh Jesus, oh Lord, get it out. She's crying and she's shivering. And then it dawns on the cousin standing, what the hell is wrong? Me and him both glance around the room and then I feel my heart sink. I run the hell out of the cabin. The girl runs out with us. The trailer door is banging against the side of the trailer as everyone books it out of the cabin. When my cousin's friends ask us what the hell was wrong, I start counting us. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and there is only 11 of us now. I'm not crazy, my cousin verified. There have been 12 people in the cabin, but being that everybody didn't really know each other that well, nobody had really noticed the whole time that there was an extra person. And then I realized earlier that I kind of noticed something was off. You know how when you're just dicking around and you're having a good time and you don't sweat the small stuff and you don't actually keep track of certain stuff? Well, I'm dead sure that someone else had been in that trailer with us and that they had been there with us for at least a day, eating with us. What makes it worse is I could figure out which one because I didn't know anyone ever actually interacted with the other person, the Goatman. The girl kept praying to Jesus and we're all sitting outside and eventually we get these big sticks. We go back in the cabin. There's no one there. We count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and there are 11 people. We go back into the trailer. We lock the door. We explain what the hell happened. The girl says, She realized it too, and that's when he was about to say something. The person sitting next to her had grabbed her leg hard. He leaned over toward her and said something she couldn't understand. So we pretty much just scared to hell and back. We just huddle together. I fall asleep. When I wake up, the sun is just coming up, and half of the people are asleep, and the other half are packing their stuff up. We all want to walk back home, but like 4 people want to stay until the sun is all the way up, and some people think that we're just messing around, still want to stay at the trailers. I want to get the hell out of the woods. The girl's name was Kira, the one that the Goatman had touched. And anyway, I asked her if she really thinks it was something bad. She says she just wants to go home. She doesn't want to be in the woods alone for another night, so we decide to split up. Okay, the 4 that want to go can go. But I have to stay because I have the keys to the cabin. It's my uncle's, and I have to lock up. Now, I'm like stupid mad at this point because I feel like people aren't taking this seriously. And I definitely didn't want to be out in the woods for another night. So I spend the rest of the day trying to convince the rest of the people, now 4 girls, 4 guys, to get the hell out of Dodge. Tanner leaves with them to go get a rifle, says that he'll be back. So there's just 7 of us left by 4 p.m. Around 5, he hasn't made it back yet. We're getting extremely antsy. The only reason I stopped begging them to go back was because he went to get a gun. It's about 5:30. When the one cousin that did stay says that the girl Kira's outside, we all look outside, and sure enough, she's standing by the fire pit with her back to the cabin. I'm thinking to myself, if she was so scared, why the hell would she come back? Then I get this nasty feeling in my gut. Keep in mind, the whole time, the coppery smell is gone. Now I realize I can smell just a twinge of it. And I say this to the rest of them and everybody. These are the people that wanted to stay in the woods after we had the goddamn Goatman in our midst. They're laughing at me and asking if I set this whole thing up to scare them. I'm looking at them. I am not messing with you at all right now. I asked them, why the hell would I play like that? So one of the girls goes outside to get Kira. She gets about halfway to her and stops cold. Kira is heaving. I don't know how to describe it. Sort of like if someone with their back turned was like laughing without actually making any sound. It was this fact that made me realize that there was not a sound in the whole of the woods. It was dead silent. This was like in late September, so it was fairly hot at the time, but it was super chilly some days too, and you could usually hear these big geese honking or some kind of bird or squirrel chit-chatting. So I step out the door and I tell her to come back into the trailer right now. She backs up into the trailer. We lock the door. Pull down all the shades except one and put a guy there in a chair to watch her. She stands there for another 20 minutes. Guy turns to say that she's still there, and then there's this huge bang on the door. We all jump up. We scramble around the living room in the trailer. The banging is super, super loud. So now my cousin is holding one of the girls, and the other 2 are kind of giggling with nervous laughter. And me, the only 2 guys, we're losing our minds. Then we hear Tanner, and he's screaming, "Let me in! Stop playing!" So go over to the door. We open it, and he stumbles in with a rifle. And there's nobody else outside. Evidently, he walked up to the campsite. Nothing weird happened in the forest. But he had seen a girl. Mind you, he said it was not Kira standing there. When he had gotten to the edge of the clearing, she had turned toward him with the slack-jawed look. She stared him down, slowly tracking him as he walked around the outside of the clearing towards the camp. Said it wasn't until he had almost been halfway to the trailer that he realized that she was getting closer to him. She had started off by the fire, and without him even seeing her move, she had been turning and inching closer. He said that he just ran the rest of the way back to the cabin thinking that it would open, and when he got to the door, it was locked. And he turned, and it was about half the distance to the door, and he looked around the room, and then he got super pale. He pulled me to the side. He whispers in my ear, "You know, there's only 7 of us in here, right?" And I get that feeling when your stomach just drops out of you. It had been back inside the trailer while we were sorting out who was going where, and then when we all went outside to talk earlier in the day, it just slipped back in. We looked out the window. There was nobody out there. So we recount everybody, and basically I go over and I ask everyone how many people we had earlier. Everyone says 8. I said, well, how many are with us now? They all do the count. They realize there's only now 7 people in the cabin. So Tanner brought back a couple boxes of ammo and his rifle. Told his dad that there was some kind of animal in the forest because he didn't think his dad would believe him if he said it was the Goatman. So he says that his cousin is supposed to be coming down in a few hours, and that in the morning we can all go back to his place and his cousin will just drive us home. So now I'm really terrified. But I at least feel better because we can be American. We just shoot the hell out of whatever it is if it comes back, right? And my cousin gets into this huge argument with one of the girls because she thinks that I'm trying to be funny and I'm trying to prank them. And that she's getting really scared. I'm not funny. And he keeps telling her, I'm not that kind of person. She says, well, how do we know that girl wasn't just Tanner in a wig? Or if it's really the Goatman, how do we know that this is the real Tanner and not the Goatman that didn't just kill Tanner in the woods and take his gun? So we get this huge argument about this. Where me and Tan were like, we could seriously be in danger because at the very least, someone has been sneaking themselves into our trailer without us knowing and mingling with us. And at worst, something bad is in the forest and it's messing with us. So one of the girls is crying and she's saying she wants to go home right now. And we're telling her that we shouldn't because none of us are walking through the woods in the middle of the night. At this point, the sun is starting to go down, getting a little cloudy out. We eat something, turn on the radio for a while, but we can't really get a station out here with anything decent. We turn it off at about the time that Tanner's cousin shows up. He's like 19, I think. And so at this point, the sun is just barely over the horizon, and he has one of those heavy-duty lantern flashlights and another rifle. He walks up to the trailer. He whispers to Tan, asking if he's sure that he's his cousin. He says yes. Guy looks behind him, all around the camp. He walks in. Kind of glances at all of us. He looks a little confused. He's like, where's your other little buddy at? Figured that she would have met up with you at the cabin. Is she a little slow or something? He also asked whether we had been cooking blood in the cabin because it smelled like blood in the hot pans all the way up the trail. We're all just like, nope. But we asked him what he's talking about with the girl he saw. He had come down the same trail that Tan had been using, and he had come up on one of you guys' buddies standing in the middle of the trail, looking at him, slack-jawed. He had asked her a bunch of questions. All she did was look at him. Then she smiled at him. He said he just kept walking. And she couldn't seem to keep up with him, and he just kept lagging a little behind. He said that he asked her if she was hurt or something and if she needed any help, but she had continued to stare. Eventually, he'd been walking and turned around a bend in the trail, but when he turned around and went back to see if she was okay, the trail was empty. He assumed she had taken some shortcut through the woods to our trailer. We told him the whole story of what had been going on. I half expected him to say that we were full of it, but he just listened. He sat down on the couches in the living room. Tanner's cousin gets back to the girl. He says, when she had kept trying to lag behind, it had kind of weirded him out. So he tried to keep her in front of him. No matter how slow he walked, she was always lagging a little behind. And then he smelled that nasty smell, and it got stronger as he got to the camp, and eventually got real strong. She had said something real low that he didn't catch, and when he had turned around, she had been right there, right up on him. He stepped back from her. It was at that point when he asked if she was okay. And if she wasn't, he could carry her back the rest of the way, and she was just kept staring. He said he reached out for her as to, like, to grab her on the shoulder, but he must have misjudged the distance because she was off to the side of where he put his hand, like she had moved while he was looking dead at her. So at this point, we know it's real, right? Almost Tan is playing a joke, which we could tell he's not because he's almost, like, peeing his pants right here. So they load up the rifles. We eat some more. We just kind of sit around till about 11. To this day, every time I think about this, I really pray to God that it's some huge prank that my cousins played on me. It just never revealed, so, you know, I would just be terrified for the rest of my life. At around 11, the stink of copper turns into an actual, like, nasty, gross, blood-like smell. Like, cooking blood and singed hair. Tan and his cousin Reese would get up instantly and they grab the rifles. It's like half knocking, half clawing at the door. I'm not kidding you. There's this voice, and it sounds like when you see those YouTube cat and dog videos, when the owners teach them how to talk. It sounds like this weird, halting, weirdly toned voice. Let me in. Stop playing. I swear to God. It tied my stomach in the knots. One of the girls just starts crying, calling on Jesus. It was so obviously not a person talking. It didn't have the right cadence. It's something that I never realized until that moment, but all people have a certain cadence when they talk, no matter what language. All people have a certain kind of rhythm to talking. And this didn't have any kind of cadence or rhythm. One of those YouTube cats, it sounded like it was outside the door. So now I'm on like full-on terror mode. We keep yelling outside, "Who is it? Stop messing around, man!" It just keeps saying in or "let me in" for almost 15 minutes. So the smell goes away after a while. And for the next hour or so, you can hear someone basically creeping around the woods. And every couple of minutes, it will come back to the door and say something. Finally, when the smell fades, it's around like 2 a.m. right now. And Reese says, "Man, forget this." And he opens up the door, and he walks outside with his rifle. He fires a shot in the air, and he says something effective like, "In the name of Jesus Christ, go away." And he fires 2 more times. And then from the woods right up against the river, across the trailer, it sounds like something is slowly gibbering and hooting, and then it starts screaming, and it sounds like a woman and a cat in a bag screaming together. Like seriously, I've never heard anything like that. And you could hear the brush over that way start to shake, and Reese fires over to the tree line and then starts backing into the house. We lock the door. We could hear this thing just keening and screaming, and Reese says something had come out of the bushes, like super low to the ground and crawling toward the cabin, and he had shot at it. He definitely shot at it. Pretty much that was how the rest of the night went. It was literally screaming constantly for the next 2 hours, and we could hear it moving into the tree line, but it never came back to the cabin until everyone had fallen asleep. Tan had been sitting in a chair watching the door with his rifle, and nobody else heard or saw this. He told me 2 days later, after the whole situation was over. He said that he'd been nodding off after the screaming and the noises had finally stopped. Right, and he had been almost asleep when he saw someone come out of the bathroom and then lay down in the middle of the floor and go to sleep. He just assumed it was one of us. He just nodded off. Then he said he kind of realized something was wrong, and while pretending to be sleeping, he counted us. There were 9 people in the cabin. They basically didn't want to try to shoot at the thing, while it's in the cabin. Have it kill us all then and there. Have Reese wake up, start shooting. It would kill ourselves. So we just stayed awake all night, pretending to be asleep. He said sometimes it would kind of stand up and do this weird jittery thing or a heave like it was laughing. Then it would just lay back down. And the story closes pretty weak because from my perspective, nothing happened. We woke up. All I noticed was that Tan was a little jittery and he was avoiding looking at us, but we ate some breakfast, we packed up, we started walking to his house. He stayed last in the cabin and said that he locked up, bringing my uncle's keys to just start walking, he'd catch up, which I didn't really want to do. We got up the path, and when he came running up, basically, we just jogged back to his house. His cousin took us home. And there's a window in the bathroom. And Tan had gone back to lock up and looked in there. We were too stupid to lock a screenless window. The window was wide open when he went in there. Guessing it had been doing that all along, waiting for us to fall asleep or slip up, get in among us. Walked with us all the way back to his house, and then he said it lagged to the back of the group, looked him dead in the eyes, and walked back into the woods. Hey there kids, it's me, MrCreepyPasta, and I just wanted to tell you thank you for watching tonight's video. Because this is October, I'm going to make this nice, short, and sweet. If you'd like to help support the show or the podcast, head over to patreon.com/MrCreepyPasta. If you'd like to get yourself some new Halloween and creepypasta-inspired teas, you can head over to etsy.com/shop/ivorymonocletea. And if you want to catch me, CreepsMcPasta and Myuu during our live Halloween tour around the southern US, head over to creepypasta.shofetti.com. That's creepypasta.shofetti.com. Hang on to your hats, kids, because this year is a 31-day Halloween countdown. Happy Halloween and sweet dreams.